Hello, class. This week, I took a look at my community. I focused on in my community where the church is at that I serve at, and what's around the church. So I kind of focused in on a quarter mile from the church. Now, my church is planted pretty much in the center of my town, of my city, and within a quarter mile um, of my church. I was going to name off some of the things that I can see, and really, it's even less than a quarter mile because these are all things that I can see looking out my office window at the church that I serve. So, when looking out my office window, I can see an Anglican church, a Baptist church, a Salvation Army, a Catholic church, St. Vincent de Paul, a Methodist church, a Brethren church, and that's just bodies of faith. That's looking out my window, I can see. Now, also within this area, this is a little bit down the road, still within that quarter mile range. Um, there's the high school and also businesses, restaurants, etc. So that part of town where my church is at is active and it's constant. There's movement, but there has been a growing homeless population presence that has taken place there as well. So for many parts, um, for that part of my city, it is active. It's a place of business. It's also a place where people are going to relax and have nights out. And there's plenty of places of worship, but as mentioned earlier, it's also a place where it's not uncommon to see people sleeping outside. So, because of the life situation of the people in my community, my church, along with others, we have shifted our focus a little bit within the last 2 years, and we've really started to try to combat this the poverty that's going on in my area. So we're doing things. My church is doing things such as providing clothes, food, participating with pantries. We did have a pantry at one point, but we decided there were other churches and organizations in town that had pantries going on. So instead of compete with them, we decided that we would join them and help them out. So from looking at the census data, only 15%, these are just some of the numbers that stood out to me. Only 15% of the individuals in my community, in my city, have a college degree. The median income is 35,000. And also, this is something I got from the director of Agency on Aging, um, is that my county is it's always in the top three every year of the oldest counties in my state. So, um, within the quarter mile of my church, it's aging, it's low income, so poverty is really stricken many people. So when I did my walk for this assignment this week, um, you could see things such as when I'm walking down Main Street, and I'm walking past nice restaurants, and these are nice restaurants that you see families go to, but right outside those restaurants um, are people who are begging for money or who are trying to sleep. Um, Also, it's like that in front of churches too. These are active churches, and you're walking down Main Street or Church Street for that matter, with all the churches, and same thing. Active church, people struggling living outside. So, for the God's fingerprint part of this video, I think I'm seeing God's fingerprint by looking at the combined effort of different churches and how they're taking on poverty, homelessness, and education, trying to provide tutoring. And what's cool is I meet with some of these pastors every month, and it seems like each pastor is trying to adopt that community that their church is placed in, so that way that each little community within the community is getting care. Um, so I also learned from the census that the poverty rate a year ago was 36%, And even with those numbers, the Holy Spirit I can see at work by these churches that are coming together and uniting the fight to poverty. So I just want to close this video with saying I think building relationships is the most important part in fighting things that are arising in our communities. And also, my closing question is, what part does the church play in combating issues of the community? What part does the church play, and does there need to be a more combined effort?